Hey girl, hey, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to hop on to talk to you guys about a very sensitive subject to some, mothering. Mothering as it pertains to mothering adult children, as well as navigating your way through a difficult relationship with your own mother. So if you're interested in hearing about my journey through both of these, stay tuned. Hey girl, hey. Hey girl, hey, welcome back. Welcome back to my channel. Happy Sunday, y'all. Happy Sunday. If you guys are anywhere on the East Coast, y'all know it's hot as outside, okay? And so I am indoors. Just got finished running a couple of errands and I wanted to make sure I upload this video because um yesterday I was cleaning, you know how we do in the black household on Saturday morning. You get up, you turn the music on, you clean. And in the midst of me cleaning, spirit hit me with a message about mothering. And I wanted to really be delicate and sensitive to this topic because I know there are a lot of women, um, even in the ages of 40, 50, 60, that have issues with mothering their own parents and also mothering as it pertains to adult children. So I kind of want to talk about both of those and my journey with them in the last couple of years. So if you've been following my channel since April, then you know that I was missing. We, by the grace of God, have located him, have had communication with him since then. But when he was missing, of course, as a mother, my children and I have been very close ever since they were in the womb. I made sure that I nurtured them from then, even to adulthood, which nurturing adults takes on a different, nurturing children takes on a different look when they become adults. And I'll talk about that also. But when we were told where he was, I did what a lot of you other mothers out there would do. I went to my child. Getting to him was a whole situation. This was a Sunday where we were told where he was on Saturday. A family member located him, went, found him, and put him in a safe location. We were able to connect with some individuals who were able to put us in contact with an organization who was going to house and help him navigate through the issues that he was dealing with at that time. And so, in order for that to happen, we needed to make a connect the dot, hand him off to me, and me hand him off to these individuals. The only issue with that was I was in Maryland, he was in San Diego. When I tell you that I purchased the ticket at like 11 and the plane left at like 2:10 from BWI. We live in Largo. That's like a 45-minute ride, even on a Sunday afternoon. My baby got us there. We were praying to God, the divine, the universe, ancestors, everybody, clear a path. I need to get on this plane. I get to the airport, get to the TSA checkpoint. Of course, it's Sunday. I got two lines open, right? Okay. Which is why I need to do pre-checks because they went through quick. Conversation for another day. Anyway, as I'm in line, I'm praying like, please, God, don't let this plane take off. I need to get to my child. I need to get to my child. Going through the security checkpoint, they pull my bag. Yo, I ain't got time for this today. I need to get on this plane. I had contact lens solution in it. I told him, throw it away. He said, let us test it. He tested it. He gave me my bag. I'm literally running through the airport. I get to the gate. Please, God, let this plane be here. I need to get to San Diego. I need to save my child. That was my thought. Get to the gate. They are boarding in Group B, and girl, I am in Group C. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you to every spiritual entity, deity that held that plane so I can get on it. I texted my wife, I'm on the plane. I didn't know, but my wife had pulled over to a gas station and she had called our friends who's also my spiritual sister and advisor, Eliana and Ronnie. And she's just going, you know, they're having a conversation. She's like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to wait for her to get in contact with me and tell me she's on this plane. I texted her, babe, I'm on the plane. I had a layover in Midway, was going to try to go get me some food. But because my plane was late getting there, I didn't even have a chance to eat. But I was on the plane going to save my child. I get to San Diego. I haven't seen my child in person in 2 years. In 2 years. I get off the plane. My relative that had him brought him to the airport. Eventually told him that they were picking me up, and when he saw me, it was just like hugging my 8 year old again, hugging my child again. And yes, he was different. He was skinny. He didn't look like what I remembered, but he was still and still is my child. And so I just held him and just held him and just held him. And, he was just happy. Mommy, you're here, mommy. And it's just like, this is my baby. Like, this was the last child in this womb. And so I stayed in San Diego, and, I got to the hotel. He went back to the hotel with me. And this is when shit hit the fan. For me, I've always had a very close relationship with both of my sons, and have always been what people label as a hovering mother. And that's the mother that, what are you doing? What are you doing? Let me help you. Let me help you. Let me help you. Let me help you. Don't do it this way. That was me. And so I had to learn how to not do that, because it became detrimental to their growth. Because when they did eventually move out on their own, some of the skills that they needed, they didn't possess, because I saved them. You know what I'm saying? I saved them from situations, and I intervened when I should have just let them experience. One of the things that we as parents, especially in my generation, I'm 48, because a lot of us went through a lot of dysfunction in our households, where it pertains to drugs and alcohol and abuse and things of that nature. And we saw struggle. And we just saw shit that we wasn't supposed to see, right? And so we wanted to protect our children from those things, without realizing that in those situations were lessons. Now, I'm not telling you let your child, become a drug addict, or support your child's drug habit, or, abandon your child completely with no communication because, they're not living how you want them to. What I'm saying is there are instances where our children need to learn lessons as adults, and because we want to protect them and save them from what we had to experience, we save them from a lesson. And in doing so, they keep repeating that, and they don't learn anything. And then we sit there and we scratch our head and go, why does he keep doing the same thing? It's because you haven't let him learn the lesson. And I had to learn that in this situation with my youngest son, is as his mother and as anybody, they want the best for their children. And as much as it pains us, we got to let them learn the lesson. Because in our attempt to save him, in our attempt to protect him, in our attempt to get him the help that he needed, we had a whole knockdown, drag out conversation in a restaurant where he got up and walked away 50 million times. We were in the hotel room, and he thought he was going to smoke his weed in the hotel room with me, and I ended up telling him he had to go and put him out. When I'm telling you, this was like I've been on the plane now. I've been up for 12 something hours, and I'm going at it in the hotel room with my child, my young adult who's in his 20s now. So much so to the point where I ain't even sleep. Because I don't know who this person is now in my hotel room, because he's not the child that I carried. He's not the child that I walked into kindergarten. He's not the child that I saw off to prom. He's not the child that I saw off to the military. I don't know who this person is. And I'm not finna go to sleep, with him in my room. So I stayed up. And I got up the next morning. I called my wife. I told her about the horrible night that I had, the horrible night that we had, everything that happened. And when he woke up the next morning, he was completely different than the person that I encountered. Hey, mommy, good morning. Are we going to go to breakfast? And I'm like, what are we doing? What is happening here? What is going on? So, again, not the child that I'm used to. I don't know what's going on. So, at this point, he's homeless, living on the beach with his nomads, because he wanted at that point to be a nomad. We cannot control our children's desires and dreams. Ain't no way in hell I was going to be comfortable with my child sleeping on the street. But what am I going to do? Drag him to a hotel? Drag him to an apartment when he's made it clear that he does not want to have anything to do with structured society, that he would rather sleep on the beach. As a mother, that broke my heart. Baby, you wasn't raised like that. Baby, this is not what you was instilled with. This is not what I instilled in you. But it was also a lesson for me that no matter what you do and how you raise your children, they are adults and they have minds of their own, and they're going to do what the hell they want to do. You don't have to accept it, because I would not and still refuse to accept the fact that my child wanted to sleep on the beach. Baby, how you taking a bath? How you washing? How are you eating? How are you surviving? Like, that as a mother is scary. It's scary. And I know I'm not the only mother out there who's living this truth, which is why I wanted to share this, because I want to reassure somebody else. Girl, it don't matter what you do, how much money you send, how many phone calls you make, how many reservations you make, how many connections you make to get them into a facility. If they decide they don't want to be there, guess what they're going to do? They're going to leave there. And guess what happened? We got our son into a facility. He was there for less than 2 weeks before he was asked to leave for breaking rules. Now, according to him, I ain't the only one that broke the rules. So why do I get to leave? Boy, do you know what the hell we had to go through to get you in here? Do you know what we had to go through to get you in here? Do you know what I went through? What Umi and I went through, what your whole family went through when we could not communicate and had no idea where you were for almost a month. And then we make arrangements to put you somewhere where, because of the people that we were in contact with, they were able to jump the line and put him ahead of 3 people. And again, saving them from something, right? I tried to save him. I flew all the way to San Diego because I'm going to save my child, because he's not going to be a statistic. He is not. He's already been counted out because he's a gay, black, a feminine identifying man. They're already counting you out. So I'm going to give you a chance, because not my child. And then this happens. And at that point, I had to reconcile with the fact that I can't save nobody that don't want to be saved, including my own child. Now, I know some people will be like, well, if he was out there, why you wouldn't let him come home? And he's asked to come home. But he can't come home. Not because I don't love my child. Let's be clear. I love my child to the ends of this earth. And everybody that's watching this video that has known me since my child was in utero and to this day. When your child has issues that they're dealing with and they don't want to get them treated or addressed, and you invite them into your space, into your home, what you're doing is you're inviting the issue into your home. If I can't save you outside of my doors, what's going to change to make you think I can save you inside my doors? Especially when you have not resolved the fact that you need help. So you want to bring your untreated illnesses into here so I can be one of those parents who complain about the fact that their adult children are living in their house and tearing their shit up. That their adult children are living in their house and they are in a living hell, and the only peace that they get is when their adult children have gone out with their friends or when you leave to go to work. That's not going to be my life, because I know I gave and I have done everything I possibly can for my adult child. It is now time for him to save himself. Have I cut off communication with him? Absolutely not. We purchased him a cell phone, and one of the deals was for him to pay his cell phone every month after we got the phone, and he's only made one payment. And my wife has vowed to keep the phone on so I can communicate with my child. He's called and I talk, but I won't give. I refuse because I cannot. I can't. I need him to get it together. And to some, I'm sure y'all like, what? She a whole life coach, but she won't let her child come home. No, no, because as a mother, I know my child, and I know with inviting him in, I know what's going to come with that. Let me tell you something. I live underneath a woman who has an adult child that lives with her, and he wreaks havoc in her house at least once a week. And him and his baby mama and all the kids that they done dragged in there. That's not, no, I'm not about to be I am not about to be uncomfortable, and I'm not about to kill myself. Do you know how many mothers are stressed beyond relief because they want to save their children and save face so they won't be judged by other people who go, I can't believe she didn't let him move with her. Let him live with you. And then you call me and tell me how that works out. But I know what my level of tolerance is, but I also know my son. There was a time where we couldn't get on the phone and have a conversation without it being screaming, yet toxic as hell. And yes, he has mentioned that he wants us to rebuild our relationship, and I want to rebuild our relationship. I miss my son, absolutely. However, that is secondary to him getting himself together. So as a parent, this portion of the message is to understand that we are not superheroes. We cannot save our children. We can try. We can point them in the right direction. We can advise. But at the end of the day, the decision to get help and stay in that therapeutic environment is strictly theirs. And when they decide that they no longer want to do that, that is not our fault. Especially when we know we have gone above and beyond. I flew my ass from Maryland to San Diego and with a 2-hour notice. Had a knockdown, drag out fight, argument, not physical. It was some yelling and some cussing, but we not putting hands. And I'm not one of them mothers. You're not gonna put your hands on me and think you waking up. Sorry, not one of them mothers. 2.5 days. I had to look at my child like, you are literally living out of a bag. And he invited me to the beach where his nomad friends lived because he wanted me to meet his tribe. I want you to meet the people who have become my family. Y'all know I went down there. I went down there and I saw him. He don't know I saw him, but if he watched this video, he's going to know. I saw him. And I called my wife on video chat and I turned the camera around and said, baby, look where our baby's sleeping. This is where he wants to sleep. Look at this. Look at how many other mothers' children are down here. But this is where he wants to be. If this is where he wants to be, there's nothing I can say or do to change his mind. Nothing. I thought I did because even after I went down there, he called me and I went to Balboa Park because y'all know I need to be around nature to ground myself. After that, I needed to be around nature. And the little groundhogs and the little rabbits that was out there and the squirrels. And I had myself a nice little talk with God as I walked. And then he called me and he said, Mommy, can I come back to the hotel room with you tonight? I just want to get some sleep and I just want to spend some time with you. Because that's what we as mothers want to hear, right? And he spent some time with me. And then after that is when I took him to the facility. I got on the plane. And let me tell you, that wasn't easy because it was some mess with that. But he got in. Less than 2 weeks later, he was out. What else could I have done differently? Nothing. He's since been in another facility and is no longer there because he was asked to leave. For what? I don't know. He put himself in that facility. So the only thing I can do is continue to pray that clarity, that he has moments of clarity where he's thinking clearly and he knows that there are things that he needs to do in his life, but it's his journey, not mine. So now we're going to move from that. So the other part of the conversation is, sorry y'all, he's wanted to be part of the video. So the second part of this conversation I want to have is about our relationships with our mothers. I wrote something down, y'all. Because y'all know I'm always got to write something down because I got to remember what it is I want to talk about. So our relationships with our mothers, it is one of the most definitive relationships that we will ever have. Because in our mother's wombs is where we're formed, where our DNA is formed. And that is where the place where we gain our purpose of who it is we are supposed to be, right? And from the moment of conception, we are planted here and we are nurtured here. Um, and this is the place where we start to grow and feel and become a sponge, and we soak up everything that our mothers are experiencing, good, bad, or indifferent. And then when we are birthed, those things become a part of our DNA. And so when you go back and you research your family history, i.e., for example, um, my wife suffers from anxiety, very bad anxiety sometimes. And when she went back to her family history and her mother suffers from anxiety, extremely bad anxiety that she suffered from when she was pregnant with my wife. So when you're carrying a child and you're in an environment or you are battling with depression and anxiety and things of that nature, your child soaks that up. And if it's not acknowledged and treated from the beginning, then you end up with these adults who grow up not knowing how to manage their anxiety, their trauma, their depression, their pain, their emotion, all the things, right? And so then you end up with adults who have to then go to therapy to figure out all these things. When, in fact, if you really think about it, the one thing that could help with all of that before it gets too far gone is conversations with our mothers. My mom, you all know that I've been on a journey for like the last 2 years of retracing my roots and retracing my steps, and that has taken me back to North Carolina. It's taken me back to others, another town in North Carolina in Chowan County, and I've talked about this, and I'll talk about it again, but now it's not the time to talk about that. But in retracing my steps, pulling out the names of and the places and the people who have formed who I am or helped form who I am. And so my great grandmother Eldora, her name came up, and my mom had surgery back in March for a couple of days. And so when I stayed with her is when I had the conversation about, I want to go back to Chowan. I want to go back to, where our family roots, where I've traced them. But let's have a conversation because I want to talk about some stuff, and I want to talk about what type of woman grandma was, because she died when I was a baby. She died in 75. I was born in 74, so I have no memory of my great grandmother. My mother, however, has great memory of my great grandmother because she lived in the house with her. And I wanted to know what type of woman she was. And my mother said she was a very loving, full woman who loved God and who loved her family. And then a funny thing, we had a conversation about smudging. And, she said, bring me some sage. And I said, no, 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 no. I'm not going to bring you any sage. I'll get you some cedar. Because cedar is what our ancestors used, because that's what they could get their hands on because of where they were down south were cedar trees. And so they would burn cedar instead. And my mother said, that makes sense. And I said, what are we talking about? Grandma Eldora used to burn cedar. Okay. She said, but she never really said what it was for. She said she would just say she's cleaning the air. Y'all. She's cleaning the air. With cedar. She's cleaning the air with cedar. So what do I smudge with? I smudge with cedar. Why? Because I know that in my spirit, my grandmother did the same thing. So this is one of the things that came from my conversation with my mother. Now, had my mama told me a couple of years ago that my grandmother used to cleanse the air with cedar, that could have saved me a lot of money buying this white sage. Conversation for another day. Put a pin in that. Um, and then the conversation went further because then my mother started talking about, how loving my grandmother was. And then, conversations came up about, okay, so how did you end up with grandma and why did grandma, her mother, leave? And my grandmother's story is not my story to tell. My grandmother is deceased, but I will say my grandmother had to make a difficult decision to save her life. And that decision was to leave her children and to go to another state to make a better life for herself with the plan to go back and get her children and bring her children with her. Unfortunately, things did not work out that way. And so my mother was not raised with her mother. Um, and so she was not raised, and even though she was raised with other women in her family, she was not raised where she received love on a daily basis. I'll say that, or where she saw acts of love, or where she felt um, that she was wanted and appreciated and loved. And so when you grow, she called it, what did she call it? She called it the House of Horror. And when you grow up in a place where you have dubbed in your mind that this is a horrible house or the House of Horror, that lets me know that you were not nurtured with the things that you needed. So when you became a mother, you see where I'm going with this? You couldn't give what you didn't have. So my mother didn't raise us as an emotional mother. We would go to her for hugs and she would push us away. And if we went to her and said, Mommy, I love you too, go somewhere. Go, she would shoo us away. Or if she was watching TV on the phone and we would come and lay on her, she would shoo us away. I'm busy, I'm busy. And so we didn't get that affection from her. We didn't get that nurturing from her. We got it from our father. And so we were lucky in that sense, but they're not a lot of children who, like us, grew up with two parents in the household, one who could fill that void but the other one lapsed, right? Um, and so growing up, I didn't like my mother. I despised my mother because I'm like, I'm your child. How you not gonna love me? How you not gonna hug me? How you not gonna want to touch me and tell me you love me and let me sit on your lap and coddle me and let me lay on your bosom? And because all these things are things that I imagine a mother is supposed to do, right? We all have this vision of what it is our mother is supposed to be without realizing that our mothers went through some stuff, right? So they can't be what they don't know. And so I had and have had conversations with my mother in the last year. And I think last year was a breakthrough year for us because my mother was then able to say to me, I'm sorry I couldn't give you what I didn't have. That was big for her. Sorry, y'all, trying to get it together. That was big for her, but it was also big for 6-year-old Treya, 16-year-old Treya, 26-year-old Treya. Because she apologized to all of those Treyas. Because then I was able to connect the dots. This woman couldn't give me what she didn't have. Nobody taught her the importance of telling your children you love them. Nobody taught her the importance of showing up emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically for your children. Nobody told her that. Nobody showed her that. But let me tell you how God works. Because I didn't receive that from her, I made sure that my children got it. So my children were smothered with love. Let me tell you something. It's funny. My youngest son, we all used to pile up in the bed. Him and my oldest son and I, we used to pile in the bed, lay in the bed and just watch TV and laugh and joke. And so when my wife and I got married, right before he came home to visit, I told my wife, oh no, we had just moved here into our new apartment and he was coming for the wedding. And I told my wife, I said, well, I'm telling you right now, when he come home for the wedding, because he's going to be here, I think he was here for like a week and a half. I said, he going to get in the bed and watch TV. And she's like, no, he's not. His first night, the first morning, his grown ass jumped in our bed. And she was like, is this grown ass man in our bed? And all he wanted to do was cuddle and watch TV, because that's how I raised them. I wanted them to know every single day that they were loved. I never wanted them to doubt the fact that they were loved. I never wanted them to doubt the fact that I wanted them here, that I was their mother, and I gave of them what I didn't receive. But that didn't change how they turned out. See? My mother didn't give me what I needed, but I still grew to become a very emotional person, a very loving person who still pours into everybody, including myself, on a regular basis. And I gave what I didn't get to my children, yet my youngest son still does what he wants to do and is still in a process of finding himself. So it doesn't matter, you know, what we are born into is what we do with that. I could have been one of those kids or young ladies that was like, my mother ain't love me, so I'm gonna go out and sleep with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, whatever, sell my soul, my body, my spirit, everything, and have a whole bunch of gazillion babies and do all these other things. I did some of those things. I did strip, sorry. I was on the pole. But that wasn't because of my mother. That be because I needed some money. I needed money. That's a conversation for another day. We're gonna put a pin in that too. Anyway, but to summarize all of that, you know, we still, many of us, even at 40 and 50, we have issues with our mother. We have trauma from our mothers. But what I encourage you to do is learn your mother's story. It's extremely important. If you are able, and some of us, unfortunately, you know, don't have that opportunity because our mother has passed on, or our mother is not in a space in her life where she can receive that. If you have the ability to have the conversation with your mother and she's in a space and you're in a space mentally where you all can sit and have the conversation, have the conversation. It's not going to be an easy conversation because we have to face our truths, but we also have to respect their truths. And the truth of the matter is, a lot of our mothers came from homes where they were not taught to love. They were not shown how to love. They were not equipped with the necessary tools to go into this world to become mothers. And they did the best that they could. Now, I'm not excusing anybody, because just like we have gone to therapy and done what's necessary to heal our trauma, those same opportunities were presented to them. But they also came from a generation where what happens in this house stays in this house. So there's a lot of conversations that can be had. There's a lot of healing that can come from conversations with your mother, not just for you, but for your mother as well. And one thing that kind of helped me want to understand my mother's, and not just my mother's story, y'all. I have learned my mother's story, her mother's story, my great grandmother's stories through my mother, you know, because had I not asked, I wouldn't have known. And some of the traits of who I am, I've been told things about them, and I'm connecting the dots of this is where I got this from. This is where this comes from. But one of the things that I want to encourage you guys to do, there is a movie on Netflix. It's a documentary. It's not a movie. On Netflix, and it's called In Our Mother's Gardens. And it's written by Chantrell Lewis. I ask you to please, if you are looking, if part of your recovery and part of your purpose and your healing includes healing the relationship with your mother, I want you to start there first. I want you to start with this documentary first, because this will kind of set the tone for what it is that you need to do in the walk that you're about to take. Because I don't want you to go into it blindly. I don't want you to go into it, with all your wounds open. I want you to go into it cautiously. And I want you to think it through. But watch this documentary first. I'm telling you, you won't thank me. Okay. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk to you guys about. And being a mother is one of the hardest jobs in this world. Being a parent, but being a mother is one of the hardest jobs in this world. Your parenting never ends. And it's funny to me when people who have young children say, I can't wait till they get grown and till they 18 and get out my house. Honey, let me tell you something. They can be out your house, but that means that the help is going to be more expensive. The issues are going to be more dramatic and traumatic. So them being out of your house changes nothing, because you still are a mother. I still call my mother at the age of 48 sometimes for advice. And sometimes just to talk, because I want to hear my mom's voice. And just to say, hey, Mom, I love you. I was thinking about you. Just want to let you know I love you. And that's it. You all be blessed. Have an amazing week. Have an amazing Sunday. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on social media, all social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, at Latreia the Life Coach. You all be blessed, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.